All right, friends, it's time to get started on replacing our headlamp assemblies. Something that I want to mention is typically when you do one, you do them as a pair. The process is going to be pretty much the same. Now to get started, let's go ahead and take off the whole front bumper cover here, including the grille and this top area. To get started, let's get under the front of the vehicle. Now from underneath this area, we're going to be paying attention to where the bumper cover meets onto the splash shield. All the way across the front of this, you should find several push clips that make their way across. You're going to find 6 of them. Now to start removing these, all you want to do is use a trim tool, and we're going to carefully get in between the bumper cover and the piece and go ahead and gently pry it out. Make your way all the way down the line, removing every single one, and then we'll make our way into the wheel wells. Moving up in the corner of the bumper cover, you're going to find a 10mm headed bolt for each of them. Let's go ahead and remove that. Do the same on the other side of the vehicle. Now we can make our way up along the top. We're going to start removing this plastic trim panel that goes all the way across the front. Now for this, there's going to be several push clips, and once again, as you can tell, they all look a little bit different. Just go ahead and get underneath them and pop them out of the way, and then we can remove that panel. Set this aside. With that out of the way, let's move along to the plastic grille assembly. Looking at each side of it, you're going to find more push clips. Go ahead and remove those. Now we can go ahead and carefully pull this aside and have a look at the back. Now we can carefully grab onto this and we're going to gently flex it. We need to pay attention right along the back side. You're going to find 2 more push clips. Now sometimes for these you have to go ahead and pop the push clip out of there. Other times you can just carefully grab onto the grill, give it a little tug forward, and it should want to slide right out of there. We can go ahead and set this aside, and then we can continue. Now we can grab onto this corner, give it a little tug. There we are. Make your way over to the other side of the vehicle, do the same thing. Just keep in mind there isn't going to be anything else holding this on, so I'm just going to hold the bumper cover. Let's grab onto this. Now we can go ahead and carefully pull the bumper cover away from the vehicle, and we have full exposure to the headlight assembly. We can start removing the mounting hardware. Now we can start disconnecting our wiring harnesses. You're going to have 3 of them on the back side of this. There's one right here. Let's go ahead and grab onto that, and we're going to turn it counterclockwise to remove it. Once it's out, we'll go ahead and inspect the bulb. If the bulb needs to be replaced, you can just go ahead and grab onto it, pull it right out of there, and then put in your new one, set it aside. Now let's move along to the top corner here. You're going to find another harness. Go ahead and grab onto that, turn it counterclockwise as well. The last one's going to be located directly under it. That's going to be your headlight bulb. It's very important when you pull this out that you don't touch the bulb up against anything that might be oily or greasy. Now I'm just going to leave the bulb in there for now. We'll remove it once we get the headlamp assembly out of the area. To get this headlamp assembly off of the body, there's going to be 3 10mm mounting bolts. You have one in this corner up here, one more towards the center, and then if you were to go underneath the forward aspect of this, you're going to find another 10mm headed bolt. Let's start up at the top and start removing all of them. Now the third bolt is located right here on the bottom of the bracket, but we're going to pause on this one and move along to these 2 bolts right here and then a third on the other side. Make sure you hold that bracket and headlight assembly. Now we can carefully slide this away from the vehicle, turn it over, and we can remove our last 10mm headed bolt. With that bolt out of there, we can carefully try to take off this bracket. We'll set that aside. Now we can turn this around, and we'll finish this off by removing this rubber piece and then the headlamp behind it. It's a good idea to give these a quick inspection. You want to make sure they're not torn or worn in any way. This helps protect moisture or debris from making its way inside. Very important. Inside here, you can see that you have the back side of the bulb with the 3 prongs. Up along the top of it, you can see that you have this metallic clip that goes up and over the top and it holds it in place. Where my index finger is, there's a little tab that I can squeeze, pull it to the side, and then I should be able to move this entire thing over to the other side and remove that bulb. Give your bulb a quick inspection, make sure it's still reusable. Assuming it is, don't touch that glass and set it aside. Okay friends, it's time to get ready to start putting together our brand new headlamp assembly. To start, let's turn it around. Looking at the backside, you can see the headlight port. Up along the top here, we want to make sure that we go ahead and remove that paper. I'll just use my pick, carefully get in between this area and remove it from here. You're going to find another piece of paper. Let's go ahead and get that out of there as well. Now let's get ready to remount our headlight into the headlamp assembly. We're going to take that bulb and put it in place. Now looking at the bulb, you can see that it has 3 ears on it. On the headlamp assembly, you can also see it has cutouts for those ears. When we put this in, you want to make sure you have everything aligned properly. Now we can take that clip, we're going to go ahead and bring it right on over, press it up against, and bring it into the down position. It should hook right under that area. Grab that bulb, make sure it's completely secure. You don't want this wobbling around while you're driving down the road. Now it's time to install our rubber seal. Now for this, I always put the tab right up along the top. It can go anywhere, so you don't have to worry about that so much. Make sure that the prongs on the back side of the headlamp bulb are sticking out so you can reconnect your connector. Let's press this in as far as we can so we know it's making a good seal all the way around. Now when we put this bracket up on here, you want to be paying attention to this hole right here and this little alignment tab. Looking at the bracket, you can see that it has the same thing. Let's go ahead and line everything up. We're going to align that alignment tab, align the hole, and then of course we'll put in our mounting bolt and snug it up. Make sure that's nice and tight. Now we can get back over to the vehicle. Before we get ready to install that brand new headlamp assembly, let's just take one last look at each bulb and of course the electrical connectors. For the electrical connectors, you want to pay attention to see if you see any funny colors. If you do, it's corrosion and it would need to be dealt with. This one looks fine, so all I'm going to do is just use a little bit of dielectric grease right along each of these areas where it's going to connect onto the headlamp bulb. This is going to help with electrical current and keeping moisture away from the area. Let's grab that headlamp assembly. We'll get it into position. Now if you want to, you can start reconnecting these in now. You might just notice that it might put a tug on the wiring. Typically I just wait. Let's put this up where I can find it. We want to make sure that we have our ears going up and over the body panels as we do this. It should want to just slide perfectly into position. If it feels like you have to force it, something might not be aligned properly. All right, let's grab our mounting bolts. Now we can start tightening all of them. Let's make our way up to the top. Now we can start reconnecting everything in. I'm going to start with the headlight bulb. Press that in, give it a little tug to make sure it's completely secure. Now we can reconnect this in as well. Go ahead and match it up and then turn it clockwise to lock it in. Okay, once it's started in, just go ahead and keep turning that clockwise till it's completely locked in. Give it a wiggle to make sure it's secure. Let's follow all the way down towards the forward end of this headlight and start reconnecting our last bulb. All right, at this point, everything's mounted in the way that it needs to be. The process is going to be the exact same thing for the other headlamp. Once you get that done, let's go ahead and test everything and make sure it functions properly. Then we can start putting back together our bumper cover. Perfect. Okay, friends, it's time to install our bumper cover. Let's go ahead and take this and we're going to slide it in position up along the top here. Okay, let's go ahead and get this up on here. We're going to try to line up our push clip holes. Then we can take our grill and we're going to start putting this on as well. Now keep in mind, along the back side of the grill, you had those areas that need to have the push clips that hold them to the bumper cover. So let's just go ahead and line up those areas with the holes on the bumper cover. Once it feels as though they're lined up, you can take your push clips, we'll go ahead and put them in and lock them down. There. We'll do the same to the other. Now we can put in our corner push clips here. Make sure you lock them down. Making our way to each corner, let's look along here. Looking at the fender, you can see that you have some tabs that look like they come down. Looking at the bumper cover, you're going to find holes that match up with those. Also, moving your way this way, there's also tabs and more holes. Let's go ahead and take this. We're going to line it up, push it into position. We'll give it a couple loving bonks. And now we can go ahead and put in our corner bolt on each side. Now we can start putting in our lower push clips. We'll just line up all the mounting holes, lock them in. Do the same to all. Now we can get this trim piece back on here. It's going to have to slide right underneath this hood release handle. Get it in position, making sure all of your push pin holes are lined up, and then start installing all of the push pins. Okay, the car's back together. We'll close the hood, take it for a road test. This is going to be a general tutorial on how to aim your brand new TRQ headlamp assemblies. Okay, so looking at your brand new TRQ headlamp assembly, you're going to see where your low beam is, and you'll see a little dot right in the center. And that is the axis point, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to mark that with an erasable marker, just so it's easier to see. Next, what we need to do is measure from the level ground up to this point and take note of that measurement. Now we're just going to pull the car up to our wall. On our vehicle, we remember that the measurement was 28 inches for our access point. Your vehicle may be different, but that's where I'm going to put this tape, just above that 28 inches. We'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so let's just back the vehicle up, straight back 25 feet from the wall. And now that we moved our vehicle 25 feet back from the wall, we're going to start with our measurement here. That's where the headlamp center is. We're going to go down 4 inches on the driver's side. On the passenger side, we have our line here. What we need to do is go down 2 inches. To adjust the driver's side, we're going to cover our passenger side headlamp. If you look at the back side of your headlamp assembly, you're going to see something that looks like this. This is the adjustment. Some of these headlight assemblies have 1, 2, or even more of them, but you should at least have one. This is how we're going to adjust the headlight beam. Now we're going to lower the top part of the beam down to just below this line. When you turn the adjustment to the right, it brings the beam up, and if you turn it to the left, it'll bring the headlight beam down. And this is this way on most vehicles. Let's continue on to doing the passenger side. All right, we properly aligned our TRQ headlamp assemblies. Okay, and on the quality TRQ headlamps for a pickup truck, the procedure is going to be the same. You're going to find your center dot, mark it, and then you'll measure from the level ground up to your dot. So once your headlamps are properly adjusted, it'll be time to adjust your fog lamps. You'll notice on the driver's side, the focal point is all the way at the bottom right now. I would like to bring it up so it meets up with approximately the bottom of the focal point of the headlight. Some fog lamps have an adjuster, others don't. The ones that do have an adjuster, you would just turn the adjustment to the left or to the right to adjust the beam up and down to where it needs to be. Now with your TRQ headlamps and fog lamps properly aligned, you can drive down the road safely.